Hi, and welcome to my first live stream, at least my first live stream in a very, very long time. It was maybe about a year ago, me and some colleagues tried to do some live streaming, but we realized that we never had time to sit down together to do that. But I have always liked the idea of live streaming, and I like to watch other people live stream. So I decided to try to do my own. I also have some better equipment now for the live streaming. So my idea is that I will do this on a weekly basis. We'll start today, maybe not on Fridays, I will decide that, but I will try to have it on the same time every week. But what I know right now, I will not have a stream next week because next week I will be out and hunting because hunting mooses is a very big thing in Sweden. Many people will go out the same week hunting for moose. So I will be one of them sitting in the woods waiting for moose. But today I will do my first stream, and as I say, I'm very new to this. So if you have feedback on my streaming, I'm very welcome you to send that to me because I want to be better. I want to be a better streamer. So just send the feedback to me. You can reach out to me in the chat. You can, of course, go to my Twitter account and send me a message or tweet to me. It's at Hindrikes. That's my last name. So, what should I talk about today? As you probably have heard, there are a lot of buzz around Blazor and Blazor for web development, where you can use either a Blazor server, where you render the content on the server, or you can use Blazor Wasm, where you are creating an app that runs in WebAssembly in your browser. But that's not what I should focus on today, because I'm a mobile developer, I'm an app developer, and I love building apps. So, if you have heard about .NET MAUI, that will be released in about a year together with .NET 6, they have talked about that Blazor will be one of the options when you're building apps with MAUI. But there are already an open project out there now. This is called Mobile Blazor Bindings, and it's experimental. So it's not stable. I will probably not use it for production apps right now, but I think it's interesting to take a look at it. And some of you, and maybe not like some and the bindings, and you maybe like architectures like React, for example, or React Native if you're building mobile apps. And Mobile Blazor is a good example how you can use that architecture, model view update architecture. So today we will take a look at it. I have not tested it very much, so I think we can explore it together in my stream here. So let's go to the official documentation for Blazor Mobile Bindings and take a look how we can get started. So here we are at the docs.microsoft.com. The easiest way to find this is to search for Blazor Mobile Bindings. I'm not sure if the name will be the same with .NET MAUI or if it will be MAUI Blazor Bindings. Time will see. But here you can read about how Blazor binding works. So we can take a look at the first code example here. We can see that we will mix some SAML HTML-like markup with code. I will say, because it's Blazor, it's probably HTML elements and not SAML, but it's very similar to SAML. But you can see here that we can write code together, and yeah, can have a main razor view, HTML UI. Then we also have something interesting in Blazor that is called Blazor Hybrid Apps. And Blazor Hybrid Apps is where you can combine Blazor Mobile native parts of it together with some Blazor web technology. We will not focus much on that today. We maybe can do that in a later stream. One of the reasons that I don't want to focus on this today is you can only run that on Windows. At least I didn't get it working on my Mac, and you also need to have a preview version of Edge installed, but that works pretty well on Windows, but not on Mac for the moment. But what hybrid apps is, you can, as I said, you can combine it, native and web technologies. A little bit about a similar way that Electron is doing it. You can build native apps, but you can use web technologies, and you can share code with your websites, web applications. So with this, you can be able to build, for example, a native navigation in their app using Blazor, of course, but the mobile bindings part. And then you can reuse content or code, I think we'll say, in your Blazor app. You will not add a web view in that old way or classic way. Maybe it's a better word than old because it's not old. So you will not add an URL to a website. You will add the code or the component to your Blazor web view. As you can see in the code here, we have the Blazor web view. And then you will build a Blazor website inside of your mobile app, and you can share some states and things like that, so you can integrate between those in a very easy way. But that will be a later stream. Today we will focus on mobile bindings for Blazor, mobile Blazor bindings to build a native app for iOS and Android. Of course, this is powered by Xamarin. It's a Xamarin app in the background. It's running Xamarin iOS and Xamarin Android. And the components and the render model is Xamarin Forms. So you can see here the stack layout. Here is a Xamarin Forms stack layout. It's a Xamarin Forms label. It's a Xamarin Forms button. So it's using Xamarin Forms under the hood, but instead of using XAML, you're using the Blazor syntax. And if we talking about MAUI again, there will be much better performance using Blazor and other technologies now, and it will also be a different architecture in MAUI that makes it possible to have different UI frameworks. Xamarin Forms today is very architected to be SAML and support bindings and things like that. Of course, you will have that in MAUI as well, because there are many developers that building apps with SAML now, and they really like it. I like it. I love SAML and I love data bindings, but I also think Blazor is an interesting way to build apps. So that's the reason that I want to explore it today. But as you will say, we will probably be stable release of this together with MAUI. We'll have a better architecture. I recommend you to take a look at some of the sessions from Sam Expert Day. We have one with James Clancy where he talks about MVU and also touches the architecture of MAUI a little bit. And we have one session with David Orton, or the PM for Xamarin Forms and MAUI. So take a look at them. So how to get started with mobile Blazor bindings. So we take a look at this Get Started tab here. There are some prerequisites. We need to run .NET Core 3.1. We need to have Visual Studio. And here we can see that we need to install Edge from the Canary channel to use Blazor hybrid apps on Windows. But the first thing we need to do, if we run it on Mac or if we run it to Windows, is to install the .NET templates. So I have already done that. But if you want to do that, you can do that with the .NET new command like this. So let's build our first mobile app using Blazor. So let's open the terminal and create a new app. I'll create a new folder for this. Okay, so let's copy this command and give the project a name, Stream Blazor app. I always tend to write the E in the end of Blazor, but there should not be an E, it's just Blazor. So now we have created that one. Now we can open up Visual Studio. Just take we'll just open a new instance of Visual Studio here. We'll soon add it to the other screen so you will see it. Okay, here we have Visual Studio loading the project that we created with the terminal. And you can see that they created 3 projects for us, 1 iOS, 1 Android, and 1 for our shared code. You can set iOS as start project because I already prepared with starting the iPhone simulator, and it's often more fast to get started with iOS. The deployments are faster, and so I think it's better to use that in a live stream like this. But if we take a look at the shared code, the interesting part, because if we take a look at app delegate, it only loads Xamarin Forms as in all of your other Xamarin Forms apps. But herein we have an app.cs. That is an application. We have application as a base class, exactly as we have in a Xamarin Forms app. But this is added for Blazor Mobile Blazor Binding host, and here you can configure some things. You can set up some IOC dependency injection things, exactly that you do in your .NET Core app. And then we add the main page, the new content page, and then we add a component to that content page. So let's start this app and see how it looks by default. Maybe it will take some time to compile this for the first time, but it will be faster later. When we're waiting for it to start and compile, we can take a look at the component, how that looks. So here is the Hello World component. We have a content view, we have a stack layout, a label, and a counter component that is defined here. Don't really know why this is red, but it probably will work when we have compiled it. Otherwise, we'll have to find a solution for that. But last time I tried this, it was not the problem to just run the template project as it is. So it will take a little bit more. Maybe we need to update some NuGet packages here later, but we can take a look at that. We have Xamarin Forms 4.7 installed right now. We have Mobile Blazor Bindings 0.4.74 preview, and that is the latest preview of Mobile Bindings, and it's the same version as you can see that we installed for the templates here. And of course, Xamarin Blazor Mobile Bindings is open source. You can find source code on GitHub under Xamarin. So here we have the repository, Mobile Blazor Bindings, and here are a lot of sample code. There are, of course, the code, and there are also some documentation, but the documentation is very similar that we have on the Microsoft docs pages. So let's get back to Visual Studio to see if this has started. It has not. But here we have the simulator. You can put it on the side here. So let's take a look at what samples we have here. We have the control gallery. If you're familiar with Xamarin Forms solution, you also have a control gallery there. We have a hybrid app example. We have some weather app and to-do samples, so you can take a look at them. I had problem to run the sample because of some .NET Core version issues, but you can probably solve that out. When we're waiting, we can take a look at some user face stuff user interface stuff, what components are available from Xamarin Forms to use in our mobile bindings app. So if you go here, use face component references, we can see all components that are available. Of course, you can create your own, and I think there also are some third-party vendors that already have created components for Blazor. So here we can see a list of all built-in components, what pages that will work, and so on. So we have page components. We can use content page, master detail page, tab page, and template page. You can also get it working with shell, but that are some things you need to do that are not working good, but you can create the content page in code, add them to the shell with code and things like that, and then tie components to the content page. Okay, now the simulator appeared here, so now our Blazor app has started. Then we can see that we have a native button, for example. It looks like an iOS button that is unstyled. So we can click that one, and the counter increases the value of it. And we can also see if the debugger will work. It will not right now, so they have probably some tooling things to work with, also to make Blazor Mobile Bindings better. But let's get back to this component list. We have layout components as content view, frame, grid, scroll view, stack layout. No collection view or list view. I don't know if they plan to add that, because if you don't have data bindings, I don't think that you have the same need for a collection view. For example, you can use stack layout, but only problem there is in performance. If we add a lot of items to a stack layout, we know that we will have performance issues. But I listened to a podcast, I think it was Azure DevOps podcast last week, and they have an interview with Steven Sanderson, the creator of Blazor. And he talked about in .NET 5 they will have a lot of improvements to Blazor, and they will have I don't really remember what he called it, but it was something that they will have a virtual component tree or things like that. So only the things you see on the screen is loaded into the memory and rendered. So that will increase the performance very, very much. So if that will apply to mobile bindings as well, it will not be a problem to use stack layout even with a lot of items in it. So if we take a look at the view components, we have activity indicator, box view, button, checkbox, image button, entry, label, progress bar, slider, stepper, and switch. It's most of the Xamarin Forms controls. So you can build a pretty good app with this. We have also some specialized components, formatted string, gesture element, menu item. Here we also have shell, but I had some struggling to get shell working, but maybe it's possible to make it in a better way than I tried to explain for you a couple of minutes ago. But I haven't found any sample code how to use shell in your mobile Blazor binding app. So let's dive into the code and we'll start to build an app. First we need to check if hot reload will work. Probably not, but you never know. So we can just change the text here and remove one word, see if it reload. It doesn't. So we'll have a pretty long inner loop if we compare to regular Xamarin Forms development, but that's fine right now because it's just an experimental project, and it will probably be full hot reload when we comes to the release of .NET MAUI. At least I hope so, and they have also talked much about hot reload together with when they talk about .NET MAUI. So we can close the debugger, we can remove the predefined components, and then we can create our own components instead. Instead of content page here, we can, for example, add a tabbed page. if you want to have tabbed controls in it. And then we can create, for example, tab 1. Tab 1 is new content page. You can also create tab 2 right now. New content page. And then we can add them to the tab page. We'll assign it to a variable instead and later set it to main page. Tabs. Tabs.children.add. Tab 1. And we'll also add the second tab, tab 2. Like this. So now we have created a tab page, and we also need to assign the main page. Assign it to the main page, so tabs like this. And now when I have removed the hello world component, we of course need to create an own component. So let's do that. Add new file. So the question is, what should we create? General ASP.NET Core. So let's create a Blazor component and call it main page, for example. And then we can add, instead of using H3, we can add a stack layout to it. And in the stack layout, we can add a label. You can see that there are some intelligence trouble as well here, but maybe get it working. Text. So there are something that they need to work about. It's a tooling for Blazor Mobile Bindings. Yes, try hi. Then we can go here and we can add a component called main page and add tab 1 as the parent. Let's try if this works. We'll compile it. It will take a while, but it will hopefully go faster than the first attempt. Yeah, it was faster. Just waiting for the debugger now. Pretty slow to start, but maybe there are some issues. Okay, so we cannot see any content. We can do like this. We can add at least a title to the tabs, so it will look a little bit nicer. Tab 1 title. Welcome, can we call that first tab? Tab 2 title is tab 2. And we of course can add icon here to the content page if you want to have icon in the tab bar. So let's try this again. Take a little bit of time to start again. Installing it. waiting, we can drink some coffee. Okay, so now you can see it. We at least have text in the tabs here. I will open my other project for mobile Blazor binding that I created a couple of days ago and see if we have forgot something. So I'll show it to you in a minute. It's loading now. Here it is. I can try to run that instead. Visual Studio for Mac can be pretty slow to load sometimes, but I also have a lot of things running on my computer right now. I'm running both the streaming and recording on the same machine as I working on, so it's probably not an ideal situation, but yeah, I have no external machine that I can use for streaming right now, so we have to wait. We can go to documentation and see if we have if they can told us what we have forgot. You maybe need to import something. Build your first app. So we have done that. Hello world. Okay, no code in here. I don't tend to read some text, just searching for code to see if you can find a solution. Yeah, to do app. I think it's look pretty much the same way we have created it. But let's see if Visual Studio have loaded now. Yes, it's restoring some packages, and we can see it's very this is the repository from GitHub. I loaded the wrong project. That's explained why it was so slow to load, because there's a lot of things in here. We will close that one down, and we will open my other project instead. So we need to wait a little bit more time, but there we can drink some more coffee. So just a second and it will be opened. So here it is, the Visual Studio instance. At least it will hopefully load much faster than the Blazor Bindings project. Updating resources. Oh, it was very slow today, but maybe my OBS and the streaming software is taking a lot of resources. At least close Visual Studio Code for now. We don't need that. Open. So here we have that project. I think here I also have tried to create a Blazor web view, but that did not work on Mac. So let's try to run this. Lower the deployment target. Okay, there's some problem here as well, but we can take a look at the code and see if I have forgot something. Doesn't look like that, so we will return to the other Visual Studio instance and try to run it again. We can take a look at the add component main page parent, and then we can look at the build actions. It's content here. It's content here, so that should work. Okay, well, let's try to do like this instead. We are doing as it was in the template from the beginning, just to try what can be wrong. Parent main page. There maybe are some conflict with main page here. No, it shouldn't be the tab 1 main page. Okay. We can rename our component to just main. Like this, to make it more obvious that this is the main page from property from application. This is the main component. So let's rebuild it. See if it works now. Okay, here we have it in a content view, and we have no errors here, but we have errors already when we created this project and opened it. I understand now why they call this experimental content view. See if it helps to wrap it in a content view. Still no content. Let's try to set a text color, if that could be the problem. Red. I'm not sure if we can style it like this, but I would have done this for some forms at least. Nope, cannot use the text color. Red does not. Okay, let's try to just like do like this. Let's see if it works better. Pre-processor directive expected. Okay, strange. Okay, let's do like this. We create a new project and start from there. Close this Visual Studio down to don't waste resources on the computer. Okay, let's see if we can find that we did anything wrong, because there are no usings, no imports, things like this. We have Razor. It's only elements added, so I don't really know why it doesn't work to create a new page. We can maybe take a look at the project file to see if there are something there that. No, we have nothing special. It's just build action is content, so it should have worked. Really strange. Okay, let's try to run this again to see that it worked. Now we have no errors in the view, so that's great. Maybe there was something wrong with the old project. No. Okay, now start it on the Android emulator, and I don't want to have both the Android emulator and the iOS simulator started at the same time right now. I think my computer can be really slow if I have that, so we will close it down and run it on iOS instead. And now we have to wait. And that's why it's so important that they can get hot reload working, because we lose a lot of time waiting for compile and restarts, reinstalls, and things like that. And also with hot restart that we have on Windows for Xamarin apps now, it's really great if we can have that on the Mac as well, and we can have it for all the things that we will get with Blazor, and hopefully we will get C# hot reload as well in the future. I don't know if they have talked about that, but it would be really great. Okay, let's wait for the debugger. So now the app starting again. Slow, 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 slow. Guess that is something related to Blazor, because I don't feel that it's so slow when I'm working with regular Xamarin Forms development. So okay, let's try to edit this one instead. For example, if we want to change the text here, or we can add some, make it bold font. Okay, still no intelligence. Can we do like this, bold? Let's try. Just to see if we can use all of our Xamarin Forms properties. Okay, but let's create a new component and add it inside of the hello world.razor instead, see if that will work better. Razor component, Razor page. I think Razor component is what we should use, because we want a reusable UI component, as the description text says here. So stream, can we call that, because it's a live stream now. We still don't want any HTML content. View. We add a label to it. Text. Hi. Okay, let's try to add that. We can add it under the counter. No intelligence for that right now either. Okay, let's try to run this, see if it will work now, or if there are some problems with the tooling to create new components. Maybe we can try. Okay, the name bold does not exist. Strange. Okay, let's remove that. Maybe we can try to style it with CSS later. But we can try to see if our new component works before we do that. Maybe we can see if there have any documentation about creating components. You can write reusable custom components using Blazor components or wrapping existing Xamarin Forms components. Okay, so we can use existing Xamarin Forms components here. Also, if you want to, user interface, CSS styles. Let's see how we can style this with CSS. Okay, so we need to add it to the Blazor file like this, applying CSS. Okay, so we will use label with lowercase, even if the Xamarin Forms label is with the uppercase for the first letter. So now it's starting. Let's see if our new component is here. Okay, it worked. Great. I don't know why it doesn't work before, but now it seems to. So that's great. We can close it down, and we can try to add some CSS to it. Just need to see where we should place it. Folder, my CSS. Okay, we can create our own folder called CSS. New folder, CSS. New file. Let's see where we can find the CSS file. Web, of course. Java less. Go styles.css. New label. Let's take a look if we should use what style and color. Okay, it seems that we are using a web style of setting color, for example. So let's do that. Label color red. So we take this and include it in our component. Stream component. We can add it maybe like this. CSS styles.css and assembly. Okay, let's try if this will work. So soon have it on the screen. Now, so what do you think about Blazor for mobile? Do you think it's a good idea? As you can see, this is very early because this tooling is not working that good. But hopefully it will be good. Okay, that's is not good. Have an example. Value cannot be null. I guess it has to do with the CSS because that's the only thing we have changed. But it's hard to tell. Xamarin Forms observable wrapper. Layout handler. Strange. Let's take a look at the documentation again, how we can do this. Shows name, press add. Note or in the main top level of the file, and we have done that. Xamarin Forms 4.5 or newer, we have 4.7, so that should not be a problem. But let's take a look at some samples to see how they do it. For example, this weather app, do they have any CSS inside of here? Doesn't look like that. Maybe the to-do sample. No CSS in here as well. Okay, strange. Hello world. I guess that doesn't have any CSS because that's probably just the project that we got from the sample. Blin, I don't know what this is. No, inside here either. To do SAML. Okay, doesn't seems to be any CSS here either. But we can try to add that, add this to the we add this to the top level component instead to see if that works better. Take a look at what build action is. Embedded resources. I think that should be okay. Get type, boom, assembly. Remove it from here. Then we need to wait a bit more, but to compile we can see if we can find anything else in the documentation about CSS. Troubleshooting. Okay, strange. As you can see here, it's built on the regular, or what you'd call it, styling summary forms app using CSS. It's built on the same way that you use CSS in summary forms. Otherwise, style sheet, object reference not set. Okay, now we can at least see that we have some problem with the style sheets. So let's try if we can change some values. Maybe it will work better. Style. If we instead use text color, and we have to spell it right, of course. It's not the known CSS property name. No, it isn't, because this is a summary forms property, so it will not be in the CSS standard. You can take a look here how we use CSS in your forms app. I don't use CSS often in my summary forms app, but now we're using Blazor and it's a web-like technology. I think it's more relevant to use CSS together with Blazor compared to with the SAML summary forms. So we'll wait a bit for the app to start again. Still some issues. Let's take a look if we can. Content page. We can try to copy some code from here to see if that works. Like this, because we have a stack layout inside of here, but we already have a margin, so we can remove that from here. We can also try to set background color. I guess I have a warning here because they want me to have a px for pixels, but I don't think we should need that when we're developing a summary forms apps, because it's not in the documentation here. And never set it in summary forms. You just set 20, for example. So let's see if this will work. Otherwise, it's probably some problem when we're referring to CSS file. I think it's really strange that they don't have any good samples how to use CSS in your app. Just say that they want feedback and have a link to the GitHub page. Object reference. Okay, let's skip to use CSS in our app for now. Maybe we can return to this in a later stream. So if we have some data that we want to have in a list, we said that we have to use it inside of stack layout. Well, we have no bindings, so how to do that? So, for example, we can add some code here. We need, or let's do it like this instead. Stack layout, we can add some code here. Well, we can have a for each loop, and we can create service that loads data. Item service. Make it static so easy can access it for now. Public static list of string get. Then you just return some data. For example, with car manufacturers. Volvo, Audi, BMW. Okay, that's enough. So now we can go back to our razor, and then we can do like this. Cars is item service dot get or car in cars. Label text. Okay, the IntelliSense doesn't want us to create those elements, but we want to, so we continue with that. Oops. Text, and we want it like this. Car. Okay, let's try if this will work. What? 30 errors. Invalid token. For each in class. Okay, why? Okay, let's try it like this instead. We can also remove that one because we don't need it right now. Now we only have a few minutes left on today's stream. Then I have to go back and work, and maybe I need to eat something as well. But we will continue working with Blazor Mobile Bindings in the next stream. I will also do some streaming about integrating some Xamarin Forms, Azure stuff. I had an idea to build an app using Xamarin Forms with some Azure function things, maybe add some Azure search and do that in a stream series. So that's probably something I will do in the future, but I was so into Blazor Bindings right now, so I wanted to explore it together with you in the stream. So now we can see we have the items in here. Volvo, Audi, BMW, we maybe need some margins, so let's add back them here when we don't have the CSS file to fix that for us. So Soon we have the result here. Just a few seconds left, I hope. Oh yeah, we can see it. Volvo, Audi, BMW. So that's the way you can work with collections of data in Blazor Mobile right now, because you don't have the collection view or list view. I don't know if they will add that, but as I said before, when working without data bindings, you maybe don't need them. The only reason to add them is that you want the native components for that are used by collection view. I think it's UI collection view on iOS or things like that, to get really good native performance, because you will not get that with a stack layout. So let's see if they will add them. This probably depends on what feedback we are giving them as well on mobile bindings. If you try it out and have feedback, I recommend you to go to GitHub and give Microsoft and the Xamarin teams feedback, because that can really help them, and they are listening. I know that, and I have been in meetings together with David Ortino and other team members. So they are very open to feedback, and they will build Xamarin Forms, Maui in the way developers want it. Of course, they cannot do so that every developer will be happy, but probably they can make the most of us developer happy. So I think it's really important to give them feedback. I should try to do that, at least at creating bugs on GitHub when I find them, things like that. And they also appreciate contribution. So let's go out and try some Xamarin Forms, Blazor Bindings things, and come back in the next stream. And of course, as I said in the beginning, I need your feedback, because I want to be better on live streaming. Thank you for joining my session, and hopefully you will come back next time, not next week, but probably the week after that. That will be some streaming in the end of the week, Thursday or maybe Friday as today. Thank you very much, and don't forget to give me feedback. Thank you.